Let's now focus our attention on the Lake Turkana wind power project that aims to provide 310 megawatts of reliable, low-cost wind power to the Kenyan national grid, which is an equivalent to approximately 20% of the current installed electricity generating capacity. The project is of significant strategic benefit to Kenya, and at 70 billion shillings, will be the largest single private investment in Kenya's history. The wind farm site that is covering 40,000 acres is located in Lonyangalani district in Marsabit, West County, which is about 50 kilometers north of South Hor Township. And the project will comprise about 365 wind turbines, each with a capacity of about 850 kilowatts, and the associated overhead electric grid collection system and a high voltage substation. So those are among the facts that we should keep in mind with the wind power project. But now joining us to have this conversation is Carlo Van, who is the director at the Lake Turkana wind power project. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there's been a lot that has been said about the wind power project, and first of all, why Marsabit was chosen. I think that was a question that did come up a number of times. So why was Marsabit chosen, just to revisit that conversation?
All right, we are about 180 kilometers west of Marsabit, closer to the lake, Turkana, but in the greater Marsabit district, Laisami sub-district, in a location called Sarima, actually. And, it's quite simple. It has extraordinary wind resources. It is a very, very consistent wind. It is predictable. Mm-hmm. It is unidirectional, and it has an average wind speed of 11.8 meters per second, which is, by any international standard on wind energy, phenomenal.
Okay, and when you look at the history of it, there have been expectations about when exactly electricity is going to be generated, or rather wind power is going to be generated from Lake Turkana's wind power project. So how soon should we expect this to happen?
Okay, a little history there is the project has been in preparation and development for 9.5 years before it reached the financial close finally.
Right.
So it is a very complex project, finance structure. But finally, in December 2014, we managed to close the financing on the project and the equity, and therefore we could finally kick it off and start the construction process. So we quickly moved to the field with the contractors in January 2015, and as we stand today in early May 2016, so just over 15 months of construction period, the project is already erecting turbines. There are, as I speak today, 37 turbines that are completely erected on the project out of the 365.
Right.
We are erecting one turbine a day right now, and we have over 85 turbines already in the country. We receive on a monthly basis 30 turbines in Mombasa. There is a shipload arriving every month, and this will carry on until March next year, and by early May of 2017 we expect to have full commissioning of the plant.
Okay, and you've talked about so far 37 turbines, but now the question is, at the end of it all, have we started generating any power at the moment with these 37 turbines?
No. Power generation can occur once the transmission line is there. So
all of them?
We were expecting the transmission line to hopefully be ready by October of this year. There have been some delays on it, but we are following that process closely. We would be ready to start energizing that transmission line from October, where we will expect to have at least 90 megawatts ready to deliver power. That is about 100 turbines. But if the transmission line is not there, then we'll just have to wait for it to be completed and be connected to the substation. Our substation is also under construction, the 300 megawatt substation at our site. But we are very confident that by the time we are ready with the 365 turbines, we will be able to have the transmission line there and to be able to connect. So let's say May, June of 2017, we should be able to deliver up to 310 megawatts of wind power.
Great, interesting. And of course, the impact is great, but just quantify for us how big or how small will the impact be from wind power?
Okay, if we take on the average consumption, to give the public a bit of an idea, a power station of that kind could give energy to about 1.5 million households in Kenya. We will represent at the time, by the time we are ready to deliver that power next year, about 14 to 15% of the total consumption of energy in Kenya. And therefore, because of that, and because of the fact that the cost of that power to Kenya will be 7.52 euro cents per kilowatt hour, that translates to, I think, about 8.5 shillings per kilowatt. That should be felt by the consumers, hopefully, quite substantially, and therefore to bring the cost of the power, the general cost of power down. If you add to that geothermal is having a very strong impact on that already, and that there will be even more geothermal online by that time as well, then the two combined should have a pretty strong impact on bringing the cost of energy down.
All right. Just allow me to take you back a bit. How do you plan on evacuating the power from Marsabit, say, to the national grid?
Right. Our point of interconnection with the grid is at Suswa. That's about 65 kilometers north of Nairobi.
Right.
And it's 428 kilometers from our substation. So there's a transmission line, which is a 420 kV line that is under construction as we speak, which is being done by Ketraco. It is financed in part or in the greater part by the Spanish government through concessional loans and commercial loans, and with a 32 million euro contribution by the Kenya government. Like I said, that transmission line is under construction. It has gone through a few challenges, which are unfortunately common in Kenya, way leave challenges and things like that. But these we know are now resolved, and the construction itself is picking up speed, and there is a program in place to accelerate that construction further. So we are comforted by that.
Okay. And, you know, every time there is a huge investment in Kenya, there's always what is the impact to the rest of the country, because we have a population of over 42 million people. But how is it impacting our young population today in terms of job creation? All
right. The project itself, through direct employment, has created up to now in excess of 1,000 or 1,100 jobs during this construction phase. By the time that construction is completed, we expect to have about not more than 150, 180 people working on permanent basis on the project. But one has to look at the greater impact. And the, let's say, the indirect impact that the project will bring is, one, it is electrifying an area that has never had electricity before. That in itself, we expect, will create a real economic spin-off. New, be it Juakali, to, of course, more extensive industrialization project, fishing industry on the lake, tannery possibilities, and there's a lot of, as you know, a lot of animal husbandry in the area, so goats, camels, so the skin and the abattoir sector. I believe we will see a quick spin-off of that by giving them the ability to have electricity. The project itself in its own CSR program, therefore the aid program that the project brings to the area, will also bring electrification itself. Therefore, we are planning the extension of the transmission line with distribution lines going to 5 of the larger towns in the area, and that will then allow the communities in these areas to then apply through KPLC for their meters and therefore to be getting electricity.
Right. All right. Let's talk about just about how Kenya and a number of other African countries are shifting focus to, geothermal energy or clean energy for that matter. You've spent quite some time in the country today. Do you think it's actually taken us too long to notice that we could have done this maybe 2 decades ago, investing in green energy?
No, I don't think it is too late. I think it is timely. I think it came and like our own project started development at a time when oil prices started peaking and becoming too expensive to generate power from fossil fuels. At the same time, there was this big push on climate change, which was worldwide. And Kenya, I think, was very fast in taking on that opportunity. Whilst I could say that geothermal could have started earlier, on wind power, I think it was very timely. Because wind power is generally considered an expensive source of power in many other parts of the world. The only reason why it can be inexpensive here is purely because of the resource that Kenya has in wind. But that was not known until we started really doing some detailed detailed measurements of the wind and the wind capacity here. There were some smaller pilot projects that had started that were not really successful, but that was also due to the fact that wind energy itself only became a proven technology for energy production and at industrial level maybe in the early 90s. So I think for Kenya, it was very timely on wind power. Geothermal, they could have done a little better in the earlier days.
Besides Marsabit and maybe in Nairobi we have Ngong, what other areas do you see potential for wind power?
Well, I know that the government has engaged now in a very serious wind energy atlas. So various areas in Kenya are being considered, and therefore wind measurements are being taken. I know that the Lamu area is so coastal, northern coastal area is very good. Of course, the whole greater Marsabit area is very good, not only the specific area where we are working in. We know that the Ngong areas, so more central Kenya, is also very good. It all comes, Kenya is benefiting from their 2 trade winds, basically. It's the Kaskazi and the Kuzi. And they each blow 6 months a year. They come in from the coast at low level, so it's a low-level jet, and it's a consistent jet, and it's always from the same directions when it hits the Marsabit area. I could give you more detail on that, but I would take a lot of your time.
All right, I think it might take an entire day. But, well, thank you so much, Carlo Van, for speaking.